hay una constatación común en que hay cosas respecto a eso que se llama en el pensamiento metafísico belleza que se han modificado. Yo creo que vemos los síntomas, pero seguimos esclavos de determinadas dualidades metafísicas. Por ejemplo, el concepto de belleza. ¿Tiene sentido hablar de belleza en este siglo XXI en la práctica artística? ¿Tiene sentido hablar de algo que pertenece más al unheilig que a lo doméstico? ¿Tiene sentido hablar de belleza después de todas las experiencias de las vanguardias que nos aproximan más a una cuestión de la experiencia y de la sensibilidad que a de una conceptualización que al final no puede tener más respuesta que ese principio de identidad? Beauty is beauty. A is A. The first principle of metaphysical identity.
Well, if I may just set it in motion, so that I use this to relax slowly by talking from the tension there, and then I expect you to counterattack, no?
Okay.
First, I would say that when this was mentioned, this notion of beauty, this notion of, sorry, I put it here, of beauty is beauty. Yeah, but isn't I would just like to expand the field here. First, what defines Platonic metaphysics?
I know defined. It's define metaphysics.
No. What is in Platonic metaphysics?
Yes.
Beauty and truth are at the same time.
Yes.
Isn't it that from the experience of modernity at least, it starts with Kant, maybe even earlier, we cannot any longer say this. Isn't it that for us today it's almost an everyday wisdom to say by definition, the truth is not beautiful, the truth is painful, the truth hurts. From Kantian metaphysics, beauty is rather associated with a protective screen, or as Nietzsche would have put it, we are too weak humans to confront the truth or the real. They are not the same, but I will not go into it.
But I can make, let's say, a small self-analysis, and then you can take over. The self-analysis would be that architects are always talking about truth from the beginning. It's absolutely written in. And more than that, sometimes it's said that the regulation of architecture, because architecture is all about regulation, but control, the architecture must control itself and show that it controls itself in the name of the truth. The truth is understood to be something that does not present itself. Does not present itself. So it requires a representative. Architecture is a representational system, but there is danger because it could also represent what's not true. So the classic example is the decoration of a building, which can represent, for example, a flower or a tree, can do so, but should not represent what should not happen, what could not happen. What could not happen would be a monster. So the history of aesthetic theory in architecture is always positioned with the monster as the enemy, and the monster is that which is not true, therefore not possible. But what I would say from the sort of self-analysis point of view, of course, all this talk about the truth and the necessity of representing and speaking in the name of the truth, this discourse only exists because we do not want to face the truth. The truth is, in Al Gore's terms, inconvenient.
You remember you showed that house in Swiss, was it Swiss countryside, which imitates the forum and of that art composer, no? But what shocked me, this would be an example of what I mocked. You can say it's holistic, it fits, but I was just shocked, you know, when you showed the inside with that nice garden inside. But I mean, with all the holistic, organic bullshit, this can only be done by a couple of individuals. Isn't this like extremely expensive, unpracticable? And this is for me a nice paradox of how something which proposes to be organic, fitting into it, holistic, is really an ecological, organic, spending energy catastrophe. I mean, 99% of us cannot afford, not only for financial reasons, a house like that. This is the point for me, that only the very rich can afford to live in holistic, organic, and so on buildings.
Right.
So what's your attitude towards that house?
Sure.
Sorry if I sound as a policeman.
I have some questions for you too.
Okay.
That I think I showed when I was talking a little bit about this question of the way things are made and the discussion around beauty and around the topic of imperfection, which I think you also touched on. I think this relates to the first issue around the difference between, or the differences between beauty and pleasure. Because one of the things that I think comes up in the discussion of beauty, as you were saying, the question of sublime, the discussion around ugly, the question of imperfection. So this is why I was also saying the kind of the tautological version of beauty is worth opening up, in as much as, for example, in the case of this project, or in the case of the reference that I made to the work of Alejandro de la Sota, this concept of what he considers to be imperfections in the example of the school, by not having the appropriate resources and therefore having to use whatever was the available resources. And so it's not really about the ideality of the project, but it's the concept of the making of the project within certain limits, and really being clear about the relationship of imagining possibilities and the limits that are available. I think this is an important thing, and I think you were also mentioning this point about imperfection. So I think the question of beauty is definitely a relevant thing today. It is important to discuss it today, not in the sense of the pure idealization, but in the sense of actually how we imagine things and the way that we establish value for things, and how things come to matter to us. I didn't show you the case of the house in Flims as an example of a totally sustainable architecture. I'm showing it as an example of how we deal with certain given conditions, the concept of a reaction to vernacular, the idea of dealing with history, the idea of dealing with a very specific topos.